Some political U-turns are subtle, a gentle course correction, a quiet dropping of a previously held belief, and then there are the handbrake-turning, tyre squealing, whiplash-inducing pirouettes that are so brazen they almost demand applause for their sheer audacity. Today we're talking about Nigel Farage, a man whose relationship with consistency is, let's say, flexible. He has performed a political flip-flop on child benefits so shameless, so breathtakingly hypocritical, it deserves to be absolutely ridiculed. But this just isn't any old flip-flop. This is a Farage brand flip-flop, which means it comes with an extra special ingredient, a wild, unsubstantiated statistic pulled from his own vile, racist entitled backside. First, let's rewind back to 2025. This was Nigel Farage, leader of the Reform UK, making a surprising pitch, positioning himself as their champion for struggling families. He declared that lifting the controversial two-child cap was, in his own words, the right thing to do. He claimed it wasn't a policy to support a benefits culture, but to help lower-paid workers by making it just a little easier for them to have children. Now fast forward to January 2026 with the government putting forward the very legislation to scrap that cap. Farage announced that he and his party would be voting against it. So what happened? What could possibly explain this dramatic reversal from compassionate champion of the working poor to, well, the exact opposite? Well, stick around because the answer involves a journey into a statistical fantasy land that facts are optional and the only thing that matters is the headline. Before we dissect the U-turn itself, it's vital to understand what we're talking about. The two-child benefit cap isn't just some trivial bit of Westminster jargon. It's a policy introduced by the Conservatives in 2017 that prevents families from claiming universal credit or child tax credits for a third or subsequent child born after April the 6th, 2017. The real-world impact had been brutal and well documented. Anti-poverty charities have long condemned it as a cruel and destructive policy. Campaigners state that the two-child cap is responsible for a surge in child poverty. It's what they call the single biggest driver of child poverty in the UK. Lifting it, according to an official government and Office of Budget Responsibility analysis, would pull an estimated 450,000 children out of poverty. These ain't just numbers on a spreadsheet, and as Prime Minister noted, these are children's lives' chances at stake. So the stakes are incredibly high. It's a policy that literally determines whether hundreds of thousands of kids have enough to live on. And for another brief, bewildering moment, Nigel Farage seemed to agree. When he came out in favour of scrapping the cap, he seized headlines. It was a clever move. It put him to the left of the Conservatives on a key welfare issue and, at times, even appeared to outflank a hesitant Labour government. He wrapped his new position in a language of patriotism and family values. We built this party round three key principles. He declared family, community and country. It was under this banner that he argued scrapping the cap would make life easy for the lower paid. It wasn't a silver bullet, he admitted, but it would help. For a fleeting moment, Nigel Farage, the man who built a career railing against a supposed benefit culture, sounded like he'd discovered empathy. Don't worry, didn't last. Now we arrive to January 2026, the new Labour government making good on its promise, introducing the legislation to finally abolish the two-child benefit cap. Now we can argue whether it was too little too late, but I suppose that's another video we could do, I suppose. Now this was the moment Farage had been calling for, a chance to vote for the policy he himself described as the right thing to do. So what does he do? He announces that Reform UK's MPs will be voting against it. The whiplash is instantaneous. A policy he championed as pro-family and pro-worker less than a year ago is now something he actively opposes. Commentators were quick to label it for what it was, a blatant U-turn, a comical flip-flop. Andrew Fisher, a former Labour policy director, was blunt, calling Farage a fraud. The TUC General Secretary Paul Newark said the move was proof positive that you can't trust a word the man says. The hypocrisy is staggering. When the Labour government was hesitant about the policy, Farage was all over it. The moment they actually commit to doing it, he's against it. It's contrarianism, for the sake of it, I suppose you could say. A political strategy that seems to be based on nothing more than opposing whatever the government of the day proposes. As one analysis puts it, if Starmer voiced favour for wearing shoes on his feet, you could bet your money that Farage would hang his clogs from his ears. But flip-flop, this shameless requires a justification. A true-to-form Farage had one ready. A justification that took hard right turn away from helping lower paid workers and drove straight into his favourite territory: migration. So what was the grand reason for this ideological reversal? Why go from supporting a policy that helps working people to actively voting to keep hundreds of thousands of children in poverty? Farage's new line was that he had a sudden concern the move would benefit huge numbers of foreign-born people. He then tried to claim his previous comments were misinterpreted and that he was only ever trying to be pro-family, pro-children and pro-working people. But now he said, looking at some of the stats, he had changed his mind, and this was where we enter the wonderful world of Faragean mathematics. In a video posted on X, he made his case claiming
50% of those who will get a lot more money every year for an unlimited number of children are with overseas parents.
50%? Nice round, shocking number. It sounds specific, doesn't it? It sounds like it's based on something. There's just one tiny problem. The number appears to be completely imaginary. Yes, he plucked it out of his arse. There's no reliable, publicly available data from any credible source that corroborates this 50% overseas parents assertion. Major fact-checkers organisations that regularly scrutinise his claims have no verification for such a figure. This isn't surprising, it's part of a well-established pattern. Farage has a long and storied history of using misleading or factually incorrect claims related to migration to stir up fear. Fact-checkers have repeatedly called him out for distorting facts. His justification for this U-turn is built on the same shaky foundation. He even later clarified his support was only for a tiny fraction of those affected. His revised stance was to help only working British people, which he defined as couples who both work 37.5 hours a week. According to Department for Work and Pensions analysis, this incredibly narrow definition would apply to just 3,700 households, less than 1% of all those affected by the cap. So he's willing to sacrifice the 450,000 children who would be lifted out of poverty to make a point that helps fewer than 4,000 households. This isn't a serious policy position, it's a performance. It is, as one critic puts it, sacrificing children's futures on the altar of dog whistle politics. So it seems Nigel Farage's principles are, at best, situational. He was for scrapping the two-child benefit cap before he was against it. He presented himself as this saviour of the working class, only to abandon them the moment it became politically inconvenient. His U-turn has been rightly condemned across the political spectrum. Chancellor Rachel Reeves accused him of wanting to keep children in poverty based on their skin colour, asking, does Nigel Farage want to go around and say, white? Yeah, you can have the money. Black? No, I'm sorry, it's not for you. What sort of country does he think we are? The Prime Minister accused him of entering into a poverty pact with the Conservatives to push kids who need help back into poverty. Critics have called him a grifter and a flip-flopper, arguing this saga proves Reform UK has always been style over substance. One commentator summed it up perfectly, saying Farage is happy to see kids languish in poverty while taking millions in donations from offshore crypto bros. Ultimately, this episode is a case study in political opportunism. It reveals a politician who will say anything to grab a headline, who treats facts as optional extras, whose promises have the shelf life of a carton of milk left out in the sun. He claimed his support was for British families, but his actions show a willingness to let British children suffer to score cheap political points based on invented statistics. This comical flip-flop isn't just funny, it's a damning indictment, and it proves beyond any reasonable doubt that when Nigel Farage tells you he's on your side, you should probably check your wallet and then check the facts, because chances are both are going for an absolute massive fucking ride. So what do you guys think? Is this a masterclass in political manoeuvring or just shameless hypocrisy? Let me know with your thoughts down below, and I shall bid you farewell and take care, my friends.